Don't show this to our Apple partners. I don't want to be in trouble.
Welcome to Mobile Heroes Uncensored, episode 6. My name is John Kutsier, and my co-host is Peggy Ann Saltz. Today, we are talking about playable ads. Do they suck? Are they awesome? And should you only make playables for games, or do they work for other kinds of apps too? But first, our horrible, no good, awful joke of the day, and of course, as usual, our snarky roundup of mobile news. So, Peggy, I don't know if you heard about it, but Yoda got a new job. He's selling air conditioners because, it's really hot on Tatooine. So, the question for you, Peggy, is how did he get his first lead?
The force isn't with me on this one, John. I don't know.
That's
I'm gonna
okay
have to give it
because
back over to you.
he used the Salesforce.
Oh, no.
Absolutely. Excellent. So, Peggy, apparently there are some things that are new in mobile marketing. What is new in mobile marketing?
Lots going on, and okay, we know it. Mobile commerce is up, of course, always. It has been. That's what's happening in this year. But TikTok wants in. So the big question is, are we gonna see ocean spray on TikTok soon, John?
Probably, and probably not just with the skateboarding guy. TikTok has signed deals with Walmart and other retailers and other brands, and they're going to enable commerce right in the app. Watch the TikTok, buy the product. It's collapsing the funnel, right? Discovery and purchase really, really close together. Very
Yeah.
interesting stuff. And I assume we'll see it in more apps soon as well.
And some entertainment, right? Because we're easily amused.
Very easily, especially me.
All comes together. Yeah. I didn't say that, John, you did this time, so
That's
completely
okay.
innocent on this end. Okay, another piece of news. I mean, this is like going on and on, so I'm not gonna look so excited about this, John, I'm afraid. 5G penetration so far isn't there.
Not really, and there's something very odd going on with 5G penetration. A big report
Mhm.
came out from Sony Ericsson. They do their big annual report on mobile, right? So in
Yeah.
every single country globally, except for South Korea, there are more people with a 5G phone on a 4G subscription than people with a 5G phone on a 5G subscription. So chicken, where's the egg, right?
Am I supposed to look shocked right now or
No, you're not supposed to look shocked. I mean, 5G's been the latest thing since forever, and it's still the latest thing, and we're supposed to get super excited every little bit of 5G news. It will come at some point, and what is interesting is that for people who actually have 5G, the device and the network, they spend 2 hours more every single week using cloud gaming. Cloud gaming, also a big new thing that's been big and coming for
Oh.
forever. And they also spend 1 hour a week more on AR, augmented reality apps compared to 4G users. So there's some good news coming for gaming companies.
Absolutely, and advertising, I remember this, it was all about immersive advertising, remember? Because 'Cause we'll be able to experience it, so, hey, it's
Everything is
coming.
immersive. Reality is immersive. Advertising, it's always immersive.
I have to say what a concept, John. Uh, another thing that may be coming together, it's been a while. It's great to be out here, webinars, you're talking at them, I'm speaking at them, podcasts, video podcasts, they're great. They have to be, we're on one, right? But we may be having, hopefully, in-person mobile marketing events soon, perhaps. What are you hearing out there?
What we're seeing is about half of people surveyed in the ad tech space said that they plan to attend an event, an actual physical, be there in person event in Q3 or Q4 this year.
Wow.
I honestly, I'm not sure if I can be there. I'm not sure. I've got my first vaccine dose yesterday, so if I sound like a total idiot, that's why. It's not my usual default mode, regardless of what people say. But it would be really weird to go to an actual event right now.
So I'm just trying to get my head around it, John. I mean, remember it used to be like it was every 2 weeks we were somewhere out there, and it seemed like we lived out there and we just went home to, you know, change things in the luggage.
Feed the
But
dog.
feed the dog.
Say hi to the spouse.
Yes, exactly. See significant others and go back out on the road. So this is going to be interesting. I think we're going to be like, people on a first date or something. Hey, how is it? It's going to be interesting. That's all I can
It's
say.
gonna be so weird. I just
Yeah.
can't really fathom it at the moment. But hey, enough serious. I have to tell you another joke.
Okay.
Peggy, there's two types of people in the world:
Mhm.
those who can extrapolate from incomplete data.
Right. I was just computing that, John, actually.
There we go. The CPU got sped up. Excellent. Spin,
You
spin,
must
the
stay up
fan
night.
turned on. That's
You stay up nights thinking of these, don't you, John?
no, I do a lot of internet searching. Peggy, who are we chatting with today?
Well, John, great lineup as always, right? We have Axley Virtanen. He is lead marketing artist at Traplight Games. Axley, content producer, cinematographer, animator, DIY person extraordinaire. I would say down to the real deal here, John, because he prints his own t-shirts and maybe some swag for us. Who knows?
I'd love that.
And we've got Alexandra Fornla von Hagenfels, who I'm just going to say AV from here on. International Creative Manager at Liftoff. She's a designer, illustrator, crafting the future of visual storytelling for brands, apps, digital experiences everywhere. Also sharing some of her amazing illustrations and drawings on Instagram. I'm not going to imagine what that handle could be. So where would we find it, Alexandra?
You can find that at Alexandra_Vornley. I had to shorten it. It's a little too long with the rest of it, so it's easier now.
The dreaded underscore.
That's a European thing, actually, but Lamit Patel, VP Growth, Together Labs, formerly IMVU. Mobile hero here on a mission, Lamit. You are a longtime personality at Liftoff and elsewhere, helping us understand and apply AI to marketing, which is the topic of your best-selling book, Lean AI. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And last not least, Tyler Black. Cool name, John. Hyper Hippo, right? Hyper Hippo product marketing lead. And he just got that title very recently. So something to celebrate. Congratulations, Tyler.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's second week in it, so going strong. It's nice.
Wonderful. It's Bug the New Guy episode today. Welcome, everybody. This is episode 6 of Mobile Heroes Uncensored. We're almost at the stage where we're kind of wondering about the uncensored part. I mean, some guests, right? I mean, wow. Can anyone say TMI? But not these guests. These guests are amazing. These guests are be wonderful. Now, our first few episodes, we gave away Lambos for the coveted best guest winner. Everybody won. You all get a ribbon. Everybody is wonderful and amazing. Everybody is a winner. Last episode, we dug into Peggy's limitless Bitcoin stack to reward excellence in guestitude. She still has a few, but she's hanging greedily onto those, so we can't give those away. So this time, I will personally give away 50 smart coins of my personal stash to our best dressed guest, 50 to our funniest, and 50 to our most insightful, and another 50 to our runner-up. Guess what? Everybody's a winner. So doesn't that make you excited? Doesn't that make you feel great? Don't you feel super happy? You just want to explode right now. I know it. I can see it. Excellent. Lomit, we're going to start with you because you are awesome. What is your mobile marketing claim to fame?
That's a good question. I would say probably being a best-selling author. I released a book called Lean AI, which really talked about the whole pivot in the industry around AI and automation to get better, faster, smarter, and around user acquisition. And it was published as part of the Lean Startup series by O'Reilly. And I actually just found out this week that there was a huge demand for the book in China, so they've translated it into Mandarin and it's releasing there next month. So.
Whoa.
Totally unfair. I mean, like, come on. You ask for like what's your mobile marketing claim to fame? You expect, okay, I had a great campaign, something went well. I got a promotion. I have a best-selling book, New York Times, maybe. I don't know. Awesome, Lomit. That is very, very cool. Now I want to ask you, we're talking about playables. First question there. What's the most successful playable ad you've ever released?
So for us, we were pretty early into testing playables. So, I can give you a whole laundry list of what didn't work. But in terms of what worked for us, ultimately, really came down to really figuring out, what are the user behaviors that our best lifetime value users do? And, what are those triggers and actions that we want to try to highlight in the playables? And that really came down to really showing things about the experience around chat and friendship and connection. And so we ended up creating an interactive playable where it was kind of a Q&A where people were kind of picking responses to questions that they were having with other friends. And it was kind of a casual conversation, and it went back and forth a few times. And at the end of that, it sort of gave them the experience of like, once you chat, you can actually share this stuff to a feed. So we created like a virtual feed. And I gave people immediate social validation of being part of the community.
Very cool.
So actually, we connected on Pocket Gamer. I was really impressed because you're in mid-core, which means you automatically do some pretty cool things. And you've got your own project, a little bit of work in progress. So what is the coolest thing you've ever done in mobile marketing to date?
Well, I come from the filmmaking background. I studied filmmaking. So the coolest thing for me really was like doing television advertising back in my previous position, and giving it a little bit like a performance thinking twist by running actual like A/B testing on TV. So running A/B testing in TV was unbelievably interesting. Actually, ad that I shot on a mobile phone at our office did equally well to an 200K flashy shot in LA ad. So it's all about the magic.
Love it. That's awesome.
So it is down to maybe just being more than the effects. What about playable ads? What's the hardest thing for playable ads to achieve?
Well, from the mid-core perspective, it's really to capture the core in your gameplay. It's not necessarily easy to tell in such a small file format and a short time what the game is about. So finding the exactly right moment and the style of the ad is can be challenging.
And keep it short, as you said, because you've got some pretty cool games, pretty intense, long form for short form format.
Yeah, precisely. Luckily, in our game, Battle Legion, the individual battles are relatively short, up to 1 minute. So we can recreate them in playables pretty well, but you will never have the sense of the entire progression during the game and get to know the units and whatnot. So we need to borrow some tactics from the softcore games to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Tyler, what about you? What is your mobile marketing claim to fame?
Well, it's a bit tricky being the newest guy but I'd have to say just working so long on Adventure Capitalist as we have, and not having a marketing background, I was really able to kind of lean into our branding. And even before joining the marketing team, I did a lot of work on the scripts and the creative planning and that kind of thing for all of our creatives. So I'm really fortunate to say that, I've contributed to some of our highest performing ads. And now that I'm on the team, learning exactly like how that works and what contributed to that. But I'd say building out a lot of the creatives that we have for AdCap has kind of been my biggest thing. It's no best-selling author, but maybe I'll get there one day.
You totally will. And that's really cool to hear about that, because I checked out Hyper Hippo just for a second, and I saw that you had Adventure Communism and Our Communist or something like that. And I was like, how much hate mail do they get from the United States?
Not
Well,
not
you
as
got
much
both
as you
sides
think.
covered.
People lean into it. I think it helped that we started with ad capitalist, right? But I mean, that was actually kind of the point. The original designer of the game just wanted to be controversial and shake things up, right? So it's the team has done a great job with the branding and the characters and the humor in it to keep it light. Every once in a while, we get a few naysayers, but overall, it's very positive.
Cool. I'm waiting for that, like that megalomaniac, the Doctor Doom kind of guy who comes in there and takes it all over. So anyway, your company is obviously fun. Games are fun. And you've been working in creative. So what's one piece of advice you wish you had taken about playable ads?
I was thinking about this, and the biggest thing that stood out to me, and it doesn't apply directly, but a few years ago when playables were really coming on the market, the publisher we were using at the time was like pushing very hard for us to use this, and we were skeptical about the budget and the spend for it, and so we weren't engaging for about a year or so, and then finally, kind of our head of marketing on our side just teamed up with them and did it in secret, and then we saw a massive uplift in installs and overall, and it was we just wish we had jumped on it sooner. Because it was so impactful for what we had, but we had to be sneaky about it because we were playing it conservative. So don't play conservative and test out the new stuff, right? Because you get really good results, and we should have been on it sooner.
Wonderful. Good thing it worked out. If it hadn't, maybe he wouldn't have got that promotion, Peggy. Awesome. Let's turn to Alexandra, AV, I should say. You must have seen a million ads in your role. What playable ad sticks in your mind as maybe the most memorable?
I had to think about this a bit because, yes, I've seen so many ads come across my face, my eyes, and my screen. And I really actually think the main thing that pops out to me is it's actually not a specific ad, but it's the fact that a lot of times people are more drawn to gaming, right? They have nicer assets sometimes, or it's just a little bit more flashy. But I'm always so impressed by some of those non-gaming playables that come out. So when you see a finance app or you build a finance playable that absolutely smashes performance, you're a little bit more smug about it because you're like, I made a cool finance app playable. And so there's been a handful of ones that I've seen, but they usually talk about, interact with a graph, or, this could be your portfolio. So your portfolio with this amount of money in it. And it's just a really great way to engage users and get them exciting about something that potentially is typically gaming.
I want a finance app playable. I mean, I want something that I can play as a game that is my finance. That would be great. Did you ever get overruled by a client on making an ad, maybe playable or maybe something else, and find out later, and maybe the client found out as well, that you were right?
This is a funny one. So something that I love about Liftoff and the creative team that we've built is it's really just about testing to see what will perform well. So when it has happened that, let's say, a customer has sent something over and we potentially have recommended against it because we haven't seen it perform well in the past or whatever it might be, you never really want to say, I told you so. It's really more just about, okay, like, let's use this to instruct the strategy in the future, and so we can move forward. I love getting proven wrong. I love being proved wrong because, like, that is the whole point of building, all these creative trends and to understand, like, how we can grow as an industry. But yeah, sometimes it's just nice to have that little back pocket test or something to be like, hey, this didn't perform well. Let's make sure we don't hurt performance in the future.
That was the very wonderful and politically correct answer. That's great. We wanted the little devil on your shoulder where a client was a complete jerk and said, no, that will never work. And you went ahead and did it anyways, and it killed. But that's okay. We get it. Nobody gets fired on Mobile Heroes Uncensored except for Lomit. But not Lomit. That is not. Awesome. Okay, so guess what? If we just do all work all the time, we get very, very boring. We haven't played the Macronym game in a while. So Macronym is a mobile acronym, right? There's not too many acronyms in mobile, are there, Peggy? I mean, there's just like 5 or 6. It's not that many. So we want the mobile acronym that you think no one else knows. And Tyler, we're going to ask you first, what mobile acronym do you know, or did you run across recently that you think no one else on this panel might know?
Well, I'm hoping this is an outlier, and my newer experience isn't leading me wrong. But when we worked with another publisher, they used NPV a lot, and we found that confusing. Are people supposed to guess what this is, or do I just say what it is or what it means?
Let's see if we get any guesses here. I see Lana
Okay.
kind of moving like he has it.
I know it exists. The reason it was confusing is it exists for a different financial term, but they were using it for games, and so NPV.
Anybody?
If anyone takes a guess.
No.
So it's just net player value. It's what they were using to represent their
Oh.
LTV, their lifetime value of a player. But they just clung to this acronym that was specific to them, and I was so confused early on. I was like, what is this acronym? And someone said it was the LTV, and I was like, oh, for goodness sake, like, of course. Like,
Wow, yeah, I was
LTV.
thinking LTV or maybe even NPS, right?
I was an NPS actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
NPV.
exactly. Lamit,
Right.
let's turn to you. What mobile acronym do you know or have you recently run across, or maybe that you invented in the secret hours of the night that nobody else here knows?
So for us, I mean, we use all normal, usual, boring ones, right? So nothing new has been created. Where I guess internally we came up with a new acronym because I pretty much sort of manage all of our acquisition, retention, monetization, and we call ourselves the GROMO team. So basically, growth and monetization.
The Gromo team. I like it. That's a first for me, Peggy. Have you heard that one?
No, I know Gromit. That was where I was going to go, but
Alexandra
see
must
that.
have one to stump the panel with. I mean, she sees data all the time. She's trying to stump clients and prove them wrong. Alexandra, what metric do you know or have you seen recently that nobody knows? What mobile acronym?
I was actually going to not do a metric related one, kind
That's
of.
fine.
It's something
Okay.
that's kind of used. Liftoff loves acronyms. We actually have to have a glossary of acronyms because there's so many acronyms past the ones that we use in marketing, and just like looking at data. But this is my favorite one that goes on Slack, and it's SGTM. So it's in conversation. It's usually casual. And this used to be said to me a lot. I had to ask my boss in my first month after he used it so many times, and I was like, I feel like I should know this.
What does it mean? Any guesses?
It just sound
No, that's fine. Go ahead. Nobody won't get this one.
yeah, it just sound good to me, and everyone uses it, and it's just a way to make it shorter. So I figured everyone here would know some of the marketing ones, so I pulled out that one out of my
I
back
like
pocket.
that one. I
Yeah.
might start using that on Twitter. And people
Exactly.
hashtag it.
Yes.
Awesome. Excelli, you must have an acronym, maybe in Finnish, that nobody else knows.
Well, in Finnish, that would be maybe a bit unfair.
Yes.
But there is one that I came across kind of recently related to a little bit new field, MGC.
Anybody?
Messaging something?
No,
Mm,
that
Go
would
ahead.
be machine generated creative.
Oh,
Oh.
Ah.
Artificial intelligence is lurking to content creation, and there are a few companies working with MGC.
Machine
I like that.
generated creative. I like it
Yeah.
a lot. I suspect we're going
Yeah.
to hear more and more of it.
Oh yeah.
Wow. That was cool. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, we do have to get back to work, and we do have to talk a little bit more about playables. Peggy, you are on.
Yeah, we have some questions. I'm going to throw them out, but I think I'll also direct them a little bit because then we have the shock value. iOS 14. We're going to talk about it again. Yes. Hitting the industry hard right now. I just did an interview where someone says, "Oh, you mean the apocalypse?" It's like, yeah, that's what we mean. Big mushroom clouds. So how do you think it affects playables? I'll try you, Tyler. How does it affect playables? Are playables even more important now, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, with what we're seeing in terms of performance, playables perform very, very strongly for us anyway. So there are best performing creatives now that our data is becoming more limited with iOS 14 and all of the restrictions there. I think it's just more important to lean into what you know to perform very, very well, and then it's going to capture kind of your most genuinely interested player and bring them in when when we have less data to know where they're coming from. And so I think we're going to continue to see really strong performance from them there, and it's going to result in the best payoff for all of our efforts.
What do you have to say to that, Axley? Because of course you're using them, but it might change how you're going to use them.
Well, I don't think it will change too much or any more than other formats. We just, Tyler made a great point that it's a sure bet to get value for your investment, and we are going to continue on that path.
Excellent, excellent. I think I'll direct this next one to AV. What are the elements of the perfect playable ad? So, I mean, you got some that are good, you got some that are great, you got some that really suck. What makes a great playable ad great?
I was hoping I'd get this one. So I would say there's a few things that we always tell our customers if they're building ads and they have a big in-house design team when it comes to playables. So number one thing is represent the app. You can not show all of it. There's so many times that people try and fit so much of a game or an app into this one interaction, and it can actually just create a pretty poor experience for the users. And then the file is too large, right? And there's all this that kind of ends up snowballing. So show something that represents the app, choose one part of it, and then like kind of test to see what's the best part to choose. Make sure you have a clear call to action logo, as well as a good narrative. And then, as I was saying, I think one of the things that we've seen trend to do the best is have some sort of urgency. So sometimes people typically think of like hearts that are kind of, diminishing, or a timer that kind of is going down. It doesn't have to just be that. It can be anything really, especially if it's non-gaming. It can be maybe like a flashing kind of interaction or something. But that sense of urgency, we've seen it perform really well, and it makes people want to interact with the ad. And then just have a high quality experience. The amount of times that we get low quality assets and people expect them to do well it's just a conversation that we have to have all the time, because you want to show your app in the best light, and that you're trying to create a really great experience for that end user. And so having good assets, having like high quality assets, and then having the ad function well and not like glitchy or slow will really take you a very long way.
Very, very cool. Lamet, anything to add on that? What makes a great playable ad great?
I think AV sort of touched upon a lot of the key themes. One thing that I would probably add to that, obviously we work with Liftoff and amongst a number of different other partners with playables. It's important to make sure whatever playable ad you come up with, that you're able to ensure that it works across different partners. So make sure it has the flexibility of the format, because distribution is important too at the end.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, so I have to throw this one out to figure out who's doing it. So has any of you tried playables and app clips yet?
No.
We looked into it for some of our apps because it looked really promising. The problem that we ran into was balancing resourcing for return on an investment, right? So we were looking at 4 or more weeks for implementation to kind of get this little app clip build and then get it implemented. And for what our design team was working on, we couldn't justify that commit. So if anything changes down the road where that implementation becomes simpler, great, we'll give it a shot, right? But just right now, it's not suitable for what we need.
Really
Let's dig into that, Peggy, because
that's really valuable feedback here.
Yeah, I mean, so the playable was not the problem, but putting a playable in an app clip was an extra 4 weeks of work.
It's when we looked into it, it wasn't just taking a playable and putting it in. It was taking a micro section of the game and putting it in. So there was actually a considerable amount of development time. You're not reusing an ad. You're taking a miniature experience of the game that you create and plugging it into app clips.
Interesting. Go ahead, Peggy. Sorry.
I was gonna say, so that means it's a shiny, flashy thing that you don't have to ask if it's coming or going, because it's just evolving. Those use cases, that way of using that,
I will say that I have installed a game app as a result of an app clip. When they first came out, obviously
Mhm.
we were all kind of searching, can I find an app clip? Can I find one? I want to see one. I want to try one. I found a game and it was sort of an infinite scroll, sort of like Galaga or something like that, space ships shooting down enemies coming at you type of game. It was perfect. I had fun. There were a couple of levels. I could beat a boss. It wasn't too tough. So obviously I won, right? That's what you definitely want in your playable. People need to win, right? And feel good about themselves. And I installed the app. So it can work, but that is really interesting, Tyler. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that you have to basically take a subset of your app and re-engineer it for the app clip.
Mhm.
So we can now take a show of hands how many people are going to look at app clips. It's probably not going to be too many. Did a great job there, Tyler. Got us all excited.
Oh, okay, don't show this to our Apple partners. I don't want to be in trouble. It's a
I'm not
super
sure if he's
intriguing
serious or
premise.
joking there. So,
Yeah. Actually looks
excellent.
very interested in app clips right now, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I have looked into it, but there is always the issue with distribution in my view, because you cannot, as far as I know, directly plug them into to ad experiences. So you would need to do some web traffic campaigns and pull people to your website to experience the WebKit
Yes.
or AppKit.
Okay.
So it can be, or like traffic is of course cheap that way, but there is always the extra step for the acquisition funnel, and it might not pay in the end as well as one might expect. Like the experience is great, as John pointed out, but there are challenges.
Mhm.
Interesting. So if Apple could get that experience better, it could be more interesting for more people. I want to talk about the convergence of playables and rewarded ads because, I mean, so many rewarded ads. I have a game that I like playing, maybe a couple. I'm sure everybody has a couple games they like playing. And guess what? You want to, like not die, or you want some extra strength or something like that. So there's the playable, there's the rewarded ad, and you got to watch it for 15 seconds plus another 10 seconds tagged on the back end for some of these days. But sometimes you're playing something when you're doing it. Sometimes it's super simple, like drag a turret over here and drag a turret over there and it shoots the zombies or something. I want to talk about the convergence of playables and rewarded. Is that useful? How much the game needs to be there and what kinds of apps work for this? Maybe Tyler, let's start with you.
I mean, yeah, I think it's useful at any rate just for keeping players engaged, right? This is something that they're opting into to using anyway. So adding the playable element to the ad just keeps them engaged and keeps them really focused on the game or really kind of dialing into what the experience of the playable is, right? I can't say that I've looked into performance of, say, like playables versus non-playables in a rewarded ad scenario, but overall, I think if it's a well-made playable, like AV had mentioned, then it's a good experience, and it can also encourage repetition with the rewarded ad, right? Using that function again and again.
Yeah. Are you speaking more as a publisher using that for monetization in your game or as an advertiser thinking of using it to acquire new users?
More on a user acquisition basis
Okay.
is kind of where I'm thinking. But
Exceli, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, from the user acquisition point of view, exactly the repetition. It's a key. If you find a good audience, you are sure to know that the same people are gonna visit the rewarded placement in their game multiple times per week. So if you have a playable that is probably even or could be difficult to beat, let's say, like a difficulty level, you could try that in such a placement, and a person just takes a few tries to complete it.
Cool.
Mhm.
Cool.
Lamas, you're kind of quiet, but I do know that you are into rewarded ads. You have something to add here?
Yeah, so what I would add is, especially in gaming, there's something to be said about instant gratification, right? And so for us, we've found working with different partners, rewarded partners, with videos or the playables, just helps lift all of the general KPIs, conversion rates, retention rates, in the ROAS, primarily because people are getting something in exchange for the time that they put into it. And we feel, at least, those are the ones that generally get more attention because people are kind of looking for that versus the ones where they're not going to get something right away.
Cool.
Okay, so playables we're hearing are definitely worth it. Getting some attention, telling a great story. I'm gonna always do what I always do, switch it around. There's got to be a negative here. Development cost of a playable ad. Can someone weigh in on what it is? Time, money, focus. There's always an upside and a, no, I wouldn't say downside, but there's always a cost. What is that cost maybe hovering at, or what does it consist of? I'll ask you, Tyler. You're new in your job. You want to keep it?
Wow.
Yikes!
Oh, Peggy's into the cherry again.
Heart holding his heart. Yes, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, so we do quite a bit of work with playables because they perform so well for us. It's twofold. So cost and resource are big because we don't make them in-house. We make a lot of our ads in-house, but this is something we just can't. We don't have the tools for it. So there's that consideration. On the flip side, once we have the playables that we're using in testing, the testing variables are different from what I would normally look at for a UA video or a static, especially when you're considering like, what kind of balance you want to test out with your game. Is it going faster? Is it going slower? Where do you hit that reward? Where do you bring in the Fatui prompt? All that kind of thing, which is very different from the variant A/B testing that we do with everything else. It gets a lot more complex, so there's more time and focus. But that's what I've personally found to be the biggest impacts.
What about you, Lamed? Is it similar for you? Because I know you look at the bottom line. Your VP of growth, it's your job.
Yeah, I would say our challenges are similar to Tyler, where we don't have the in-house expertise to do this. So, it's more cost-effective for us to sort of work with external partners. Having said that, there's obviously additional costs, right? You have to factor into the ROI on developing these types of creatives. But one way that we've actually been able to pivot some of our costs, and I don't know if other folks have tried this, is try to negotiate with the different like UA partners that we work with and try to get some form of like UA credits for testing these formats for them. And generally, we've been able to get some substantial credits that offsets a lot of those costs for us.
Wow.
Smart.
Wow.
Very smart.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's a really nice tip.
Everybody will be calling all of their ad partners now. By the way, Lamed said.
Yep, you heard it here.
Exactly.
And something to keep in mind is also the testing phase. That as mentioned, the cost of getting one made is significantly more than getting a video made or doing video yourself. So if possible, test all the variants like a beginning, end card, so on, in video format before you like purchase one of those playables.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, last question before we go to our next segment. And I think I'll direct this one to AV. So we've seen data suggesting that playables have higher ROI, better retention, lower cost per paying user, higher conversion rates even than other ad types. Do you agree with that? Have you seen that? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as everyone's been saying, playables are really important to have as part of your creative stack. I think that is to say it should go alongside video, also very important. But you really want to make sure that you are optimizing on both formats because then you're going to be able to reach more users. I personally, Liftoff, we kind of like hone in more on the HTML and playable side of things. We're branching out into more video over the past year, so we've done a lot more there. But I think, as I was saying kind of earlier, like playables are a really interesting way, kind of the same thing as videos, to get more to the user. So to have them understand, what your app's about, what's the cool part about it, hook them in, and then hopefully they install it and do more down the line.
Excellent. Okay, so new segment for us. New segment for Mobile Heroes Uncensored. I call it goodie bag. You know how in the old days when you actually went somewhere nice and spoke at a conference, and maybe they even comped you for that and paid for your hotel or something like that, and they had a little goodie bag waiting for you in the green room, and you had some cool stuff to look through, right? We don't have that for you. However, however, we want people who are going to be watching this to get a virtual goodie bag, you know, a little treat, a little something, a little bit of maybe your best piece of advice. For everybody who's working on playables or thinking about it, what would your best piece of advice that you're dropping in the goodie bag be? And Tyler, I think we'll hit you first.
Honestly, I think AV hit on some of like the best tips that you should keep in mind.
What a suck
I know,
up.
right? Go back, watch that
He's
segment
looking
again.
for that ad credit.
But just having a very, very genuine experience for kind of like the core feature or the hook of your game, focusing on that, don't mislead your players, and then high quality assets and a smoothness of the experience. If you're going to, you know, chug somewhere, they're gonna drop off, or if your Fatui just stops and you don't prompt them through the experience, you're gonna lose that potential install, right? So just having that very smooth flow through is the best thing you can do, I think.
Your Fatui.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to say,
before.
put that in the goodie bag. What is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I work with very directly with game designers, and so first time user experience.
Okay.
Right. So
I
that
knew I
little
had
marker
heard
you
it
get at the
before.
start of a game, right? All
Okay.
the playables usually start with a, you know, tap this
First
button,
time user
right?
experience.
You need to have a lot of this prompt to get them through, right? And so that's how I think through it.
That's
is
totally
Fatui.
fine, Peggy. He's still playing the macronym game, but it's all
That's
good.
okay.
That's what I was gonna say. Got to
He's
use
just
that next time.
internalized it. It's like, you know, it's the Terminator. Now it's part of the vocabulary. I'll be back. Okay, Lamet, you can put in an autographed copy of your book, of course. But what else goes in the goodie bag?
In the goodie bag, you know, I think there's a lot of good tips that have already been shared, like, you know, everyone here. But I think Axel made a really good point. When it comes to playables, and we did the same thing, because the costs are pretty high. That's a higher investment. So try to do as much testing ahead of time. And we did the same thing with like stills and videos, as well as even like some user focus groups on some of that stuff to get the feedback, to ensure that we're at least telling the story the right way before we went ahead and invested into that.
Okay.
And then the other tip I already mentioned, you know, always ask for UA credits when you're looking to test this.
That's the best takeaway here, I think. I can imagine. Everyone's got it down in notes. AV, Alexandra, what would be your final tip into the goodie bag?
I think everyone's kind of already hit on some pretty good ones. I do think, you know, if you have the capability, testing, I'm going to kind of go along with that. It's so important. You know, a little adding a word in or changing the layout of something slightly can actually bring a significant lift. And sometimes you're kind of shocked by like how much. Also, don't get disheartened if your playable ad does not perform well. It does happen, but just keep trying and finding the right storyline, because they do really help in the end.
And here I thought every ad worked well all the time, and there was never any problem. It's like, wow, awesome. XLE, we want something for the goodie bag from you. And if you start with, well, somebody's already said it, but I'm going to, you know, I know, just go off stage, off air here.
I have something brand new, not mentioned
cool.
yet.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be that if you have the resources and a bit of developer time in your UA team, do look into those newer platforms. Like, for example, Luna Labs is working on a playable platform that it's supposed to offer you a way to produce the playables yourself with a minimum, development time necessary. And if that works, that could really be a lean solution and save a bit of money.
Excellent. Excellent. That fills up the goodie bag. There's no more room. You can't say anything more, and nobody else can say anything else. It's totally full. But this was amazing. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
Hey, enough about general mobile marketing news in the industry. Apparently, there are some mobile heroes who are in the news also.
All the time. We got a lively bunch, John.
Do we?
We
Cool.
do indeed. So I'll kick off because maybe people don't know this or they have to go there more often. Every mobile hero, of course, has a dedicated page. So what we're
Wow.
going to do from here on in is we're going to dive into these pages. And in the future, I'll be doing little mini interviews with them as well. So we have Sally Chi, growth manager at Chime. Great page, great blog about testing your media partners, and some solid advice as well to help you keep your creative team sort of understanding the metrics, keep everyone on the same page. Her advice, literally, show them the data. Don't worry, they won't they won't faint. Show them the data, show them how campaigns are run. It makes for better teamwork and also helps to have a couple brainstorming sessions in between. Always thinking outside of the box. And of course, with Sally, you can see that would be the norm.
Wow. That is a cool page. A great shot. I don't know who got that shot, who captured that, but it's amazing. Looks incredible and looks like a blog post I need to check out.
Yeah, I looked at it. It's cool. It's very methodical. What you need to do, how you need to do it. Exactly like our audience loves it. Just give us the facts. So there you go.
Excellent. You've
Now,
got a few others as well, I believe.
we do indeed. Business is buzzing at Bumble. I had to do it, John. Had
Oh, come on. Wow.
had to
You
do
say
it.
that I'm the cheesy one? Holy cow.
I'm learning from the best, John. but but seriously, they are on such a running streak over there. I mean, Maury Mitrani, Director of Growth Marketing, and Solange Baki, Growth Marketing Manager, probably celebrating as we speak in ways we can only dream of, John. You know, long drinks, the whole bit. Because, hey, well deserved. Bumble reports 30% increase paid user growth in Q1 earnings.
Wow.
And you have to consider that that is total paying users surged in the year to 2.8 million, driving more than a 40% jump in revenue. So those are some happy campers.
During a quarantine quarter, too. That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a lot of really cool stuff. I mean, they've added friendship, they've added professional focus features, Bumble BFF, right? Bumble Biz. I didn't think of that. They did. Right. Don't blame me. No, I'm just kidding. So they're really betting on the friendship space emerging as the next social growth horizon. So it's not just always about dating. Sometimes it's just about hanging out and having fun because what else are we going to do, right?
What have we come to as a society? We're monetizing friendship now. I understand the need, and they are doing some amazing stuff.
And we have other heroes doing amazing stuff. So Winnie Wen, you probably wouldn't know this, John, but she was formerly at Warner Brothers and she was out there on this speaking circuit and doing all sorts of amazing things. Now she is promoted to Senior Director of User Acquisition at Jam City. So another big jump, another big move for another major mobile hero.
Very cool.
So congratulations, Winnie. And finally, Janice Gao, growth manager at Big Fish Games, appeared on Game Bakery podcast, John.
Wow.
That's one we don't know about. Talking about
No.
games. No. I love this icon. I think we could have had it on one of our game shows. You know, does it do the job? Yes, it is a bakery. Not so sure about the game, but we'll go there. And of course, if she's on that podcast, I'm thinking she's just one step closer to being on our show, John. So if you're watching, Janice, I think we've got a date.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to meeting more of our mobile heroes in person, maybe one of these days. And looking forward to doing episode 7 of Mobile Heroes Uncensored in about a week's time. What is our topic for Mobile Heroes 7? Do you know it off the top of your head, Peggy?
Off the top of my head, it is segmentation, I believe. Yes, it is.
Wow.
I believe it is.
You
Yes,
have a very good top of the head. I did not know that.
I'm
I
pretty certain.
knew that we were doing a Mobile Heroes thing.
Oh
I knew
no,
it would be
wait.
uncensored, but I didn't know
Ah,
the topic.
you know what? I screwed up.
Why?
Because it is, I should know this. The reason is because we have such a great lineup that I didn't have to do a lot of work here because we have got a special agency edition. That's why.
Okay.
We're going to be
Okay.
talking to agencies about how they work together with marketers, and we're going to get a feel for the other side of everything here. So, how do they work together? How they get great results? What works, what doesn't work? A little bit of a relationship thing, but it's going to be a great show, and we have it lined up and ready to roll.
I am looking forward to that. That's going to be very cool. There's going to be a lot of questions there. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on because I've
Mhm.
seen some interesting things recently about, for instance, Facebook marketing partners, and you can only have one for a particular app. And so if you're using multiple agencies, you've got some issues because your data is visible to everybody. So I've
Mm.
got some questions to ask them already. And you know what, Peggy? I think I will end off with a shameless plug. Liftoff does host the Mobile Heroes Slack channel. There's I'm probably out of date, but there's apparently 2,200 marketers there. Maybe it's
Mhm.
2,300 now. Tons of insight there. And if you want to get it, you want to check it out, it's info.liftoff.io/Slack-sign up. And I will put that URL on screen. And guess what? We'll even put it in the show notes, Peggy, so somebody doesn't have to remember it.
Absolutely. And it's a great place to hang out. I love it over there. You're in there, John.
I am in there. I am in there. I'm probably a little delinquent, but if somebody pings me, I will see it.
Okay. So I'm going to test it. I'm going to ping you there in just a bit, John.
Excellent. Excellent. Great show again, Peggy, and looking forward to our next one with the agencies.